This is not just a pirate saga, but rather a stretched mask over dry and monotonous gameplay, making you wonder if it's worth overpaying for a bunch of cosmetic add-ons in this already expensive project. Let's look at the details of this sea adventure and try to figure out what is really behind these skulls and bones. From the very beginning, I would like to say that Skull and Bones didn't immediately shoot into the hearts of gamers. Is it worth its $70 and decades of waiting? Questionable. Yes, I'm a fan of pirate games, and I always want more in this genre. But this time around, Ubisoft has offered something fairly simple, centered around a live service. For many, this may not be what they were expecting or looking for. So what is Skull and Bones? It's a big open world of piracy where you can grind, explore, fight, and of course, pay. The game tries to pull you into its cycle of action, but not everyone is to everyone's liking. Some players don't like the concept of live service. However, even if you're not into this kind of game, Skull and Bones has something to offer its audience. It's not a disaster, and many have already found their passion in it. But let's talk about the game itself. You start by creating a character and dive into a huge pirate world full of islands and adventures. Here you'll find a variety of quests, from basic storylines to the usual message board quests. And yes, there's room for treasure hunting as well. It all seems exciting at first glance, but as the game progresses, it starts to get a little tiring. The first few hours of gameplay can feel monotonous and even boring. It feels like you are at work, performing the same actions over and over again. The game doesn't take the time to explain its mechanics or make it clear why all of these actions are important. It's just a cycle that you're forced into. In addition, the game's world, though beautifully designed, seems devoid of life. The characters and tasks could have been more memorable and interesting. Despite the variety of quests and tasks, the interaction with the world around you leaves a lot to be desired. Aside from the core gameplay, Skull and Bones also offers players the opportunity to fight at sea. This is one of the most appealing aspects of the game, where you can face off against other players or explore the world alone on your ship. Battles at sea are impressive with their cinematic battles, but they can sometimes seem a bit shallow due to the simplicity of the controls and strategy. Also worth mentioning is the progression and character development system. The game offers the ability to improve your character, your ship, and equipment, but progress can seem slow and not stimulating enough. An important aspect for many players is the multiplayer mode. And here, Skull and Bones offers interesting opportunities for cooperative play. However, some aspects, such as long queue times and some balance issues, can leave something to be desired. Finally, it should be noted that Ubisoft promises regular updates and the addition of new content to the game, which could significantly change its experience in the future. So, while Skull and Bones may not meet some players' expectations at present, it has the potential to improve and evolve in the future thanks to the developer's support. While Skull and Bones has its appeal, especially in its arcade-style ship combat and the ability to customize your ship, the game leaves a lot to be desired in other aspects. For one, the game suffers from a serious lack of content and gameplay depth. Aside from the naval combat battles, the experience of the game is limited and monotonous. The lack of varied quests and interesting storylines makes the gameplay boring and predictable. It's also worth noting that some aspects of the game, such as the progression and character development system, leave much to be desired. Progression can seem slow and underwhelming, making the gameplay understimulating for players. Additionally, the lack of in-depth customization of characters and ship crew detracts from the ability to customize the game experience. The limited customization options can cause players to feel limited and monotonous. While the combat system may seem vibrant and exciting at first glance, it suffers from a lack of depth and strategic variety. Ship battles, while offering some tactical options, are ultimately limited to a superficial and arcade style that may not satisfy more experienced players. The game lacks a strong story element to keep players interested and motivated. The lack of an addictive story or memorable characters may cause players to lose interest in the game early on. Skull and Bones features a monetization model based on microtransactions, which raises some concerns among players about the game's balance and the advantage of paying users. After purchasing the game for a significant amount of money, players face a number of additional costs in the in-game store. While most items are only available for in-game currency that can be earned in-game, there is also an option to purchase currency with real money. There is a noticeable lack of social opportunities in the game, making interactions with other players limited and unsatisfying. Encounters with other players are often random and do not allow for true group interaction or deep social connections. One of the major drawbacks of the game is the limited opportunities for pedestrian exploration and activities outside of ship battles. The lack of exciting adventures and limited game world leads to a sense of lack of depth and variety in gameplay, which can quickly bore players. In addition to the criticism of monetization and limited social features, it is also worth noting some of the technical issues that some players have observed. Feedback mentioned instances of poor game performance, freezes, and connection issues in online mode, which affects the overall gameplay experience. Some players also voiced concerns about the game's long-term development and support. Despite the developers' promises to bring improvements and additions to the game in the future, some users doubt the development team's ability to maintain active and meaningful content updates over the long term. Despite the aforementioned shortcomings and limitations, it is worth recognizing that the game has its bright sides. For example, it offers exciting and dynamic battles on ships, which may be especially appealing to lovers of maritime adventures. The graphics and atmosphere of the game also evoke positive emotions, creating picturesque and exciting moments while sailing the high seas. The review expresses my personal opinion on the game's shortcomings and encourages discussion in the comments. I note that while the game has potential for improvement and development in its current state, it is not always capable of meeting players' expectations, especially for its high price. In conclusion, Skull and Bones is a game that has its fans, but it is not for everyone. It offers a huge world of piracy, but at the same time it can seem monotonous and lacking in depth. If you're a fan of pirate adventures, it's worth giving it a chance, but be prepared for some frustrations.